The 5 things that you missed overnight. Number 1 on the list today is Big Pharma. That's right. The largest pharmaceutical companies right now have made a pledge to not rush out any COVID-19 vaccines. Now, this kind of flies in the face of what President Trump had been hoping for, which is to try to get a vaccine out by Election Day or before Election Day. Well, they came together as a pact. They all signed a letter saying they came together and agreed that we are not going to have politics dictating whether or not a vaccine gets rolled out. No, 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 no. We are going to take action together to get a vaccine done properly with science. So this was Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Merck, Moderna, Pfizer, Novavax, Sanofi, BioNTech, GlaxoSmithKline. They all together came together and said, we are not going to focus on politics. They said, we believe this pledge will help ensure public confidence in the rigorous scientific and regulatory process by which the vaccines are evaluated and may ultimately be approved, the pledge said. So they're all on the same page with this. The chances of us seeing any kind of coronavirus vaccine by Election Day would be stunning. Thank you, Deborah, for becoming a new channel member. If I don't see it because I'm looking at all my notes here, I apologize. I call them out as I see them pop up here. So thank you so much for becoming a channel member. But so no vaccine probably by Election Day, and good. Take your time and do it right. Don't rush this thing through. We're already seeing that AstraZeneca had to pause their trials because of issues they were having and adverse reactions. Daniel, Anthony, thank you for becoming a channel member. It's super cheap, too. It's like a cup of coffee to become a channel member, so thank you so much. So this is a little bit of a cold water on President Trump's plans, his campaign pledges that he would have this vaccine by Election Day. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. The second thing you might have missed overnight is a rise in coronavirus cases. Take a look at the new coronavirus numbers that are out this morning. According to these census numbers, these coronavirus cases in the past 7 days, look at this in blue, going up, 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 up. Now, this is not good news. This is not good news. And of course, we're all still waiting for this vaccine, which we're likely not to see by any time soon. As they're taking their time with this, which I believe is a good thing. I don't want this thing rushed out. As these different scientific advisors are saying, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and focus on science. But there's something big happening with teachers right now. Here's a teacher that passed away overnight, 28 years old. She, working at a school, got sick and passed away. She's not the first. In fact, she's one of many that have recently passed away because of coronavirus. This is terrible news as these cases continue to rise. The daily increase in coronavirus infections rose for the 3rd day in a row as hope for passing an economic relief bill before the Election Day has now faded. The big concern, though, that I had about schools and reopening was it wasn't really about the children. It was about the teachers. And I am sad to say that I was right about this. I don't want to be right about certain things. I wish I didn't have to be. But it was about the older people that worked in the schools. It wasn't about the kids. It was about the older people. So now teachers have died. A number of teachers are dying across the country. Teachers have died as a result of COVID, at least in 5 states since the beginning of the new school year. In 5 different states, teachers have died. The U.S. continues to fail its residents in responding to the crisis. Educators are worrying about the impact that opening schools will have across the country. Since the start of the pandemic, many teachers have expressed their fear of returning back to their classrooms. Some teachers were told that if they chose to, they could go virtual, and the students could be in person in school. They would be virtual teaching them. That didn't happen. A lot of teachers were told, no, you got to show up, even though they had previously been told they didn't have to. But we already knew about this ahead of time. I mean, this was happening before the coronavirus pandemic exploded across the country, before we ended school years early in March. We had over 30 teachers die in March. According to these numbers right now, in Mississippi alone, at least 600 cases have been reported among school teachers and staff. Without mandatory safety guidelines and measures right now in place to stop the spread of coronavirus, we're going to continue to have increases in teachers who are getting sick. According to the American Federation of Teachers, at least 210 union members have died because of coronavirus. 210. This is troubling news on the coronavirus front. These numbers, like seeing what's going on right now with these numbers going back up again as we head into the fall and as all of these, kids are back in school. This is incredibly troubling. Let me know in the comments if you know any teachers, if you are a teacher, what your schools are doing, because it seems like there's a hodgepodge approach to this. There's no sort of national effort, no real national guidelines on what we're doing. And every school is different, it seems. Every district is different. Every municipality is different. Dorothy, thank you for becoming a channel member. I appreciate it. The third thing I think you missed overnight is an update on these wildfires, but I want to talk about the financial impact and what this could do to our broader economy, because we're getting some data in now on these horrible wildfires in California, Oregon, up through Washington State as well. Absolutely terrible. Right now, these 30-plus fires north of Sacramento in California has the biggest wildfire event in California's history. 471,000 acres at this point. 471,000 acres. What they found right now is that the rising cost of these storms, floods, fires, droughts could create a systemic crisis in slow motion in the financial markets. Think about this for a second. Just take California. An estimated 25% of the state's 12 million homes face risk of burning down. That has implications for mortgages. I mean, think about all the banks that could limit loans to farmers after droughts or lower crop yields. Falling home values on the coasts and floodplains could cut cities' tax revenues all over the place. And it's getting incredibly difficult to smoke. I mean, you're seeing all these people to breathe. I'm saying not to smoke, but these people are, not only are we all wearing face masks right now, but it's getting right through the face mask like this woman. Look at this cloud of smoke. Los Angeles residents say that right now they're experiencing the worst smog they've seen in 30 years in Los Angeles. So the bottom line right now, these freak weather events are becoming all the more common, and they're being viewed right now by economists as local, not just as localized shocks to the economy, but as a climate change makes extreme weather more severe and frequent. That's all changing. It's right now it's local, but it's having national implications. So these high heat, high wind across California, Oregon, and Washington, destroying hundreds of homes. So far, at least 7 people have died because of it. Just tragic what's happening in that part of the country right now. And they've burned through 2.5 million acres across that part of the country. So again, major financial damage could result if those homes end up or if they can't contain this stuff. Just think about that, what that's going to do to our economy. Banks which have already been tightening their belts, banks which are already freaking a lot of investors out to begin with, what that could do to the broader banking and economics right now could be devastating. The fourth thing that we need to talk about today is the campaign, whether you like it or not. We've just got, just about like 50 days or so till the election day right now. And I said before, and I'll say it again, watch what they do, not what they say. Now, we saw the Trump campaign a few weeks ago pulling back in Michigan, pulling back their ad spend in Michigan. Well, guess what? Watch what they do, not what they say. What's going on? President Trump flew to Michigan on the heels of Joe Biden being there. And according to some internal data right now from the Trump campaign, it looks like they see Michigan possibly could be in play again. The latest polls out today, though, from the Detroit News has Biden winning there 47% to 42%. But it looks like President Trump is not giving up on Michigan, and they are putting some eggs in that basket again. So here is President Trump yesterday. Well, here's Biden first, slamming President Trump on the news of that Bob Woodward interview. So Vice President Biden was in Michigan, and then President Trump.
Much of it is brought on by Donald Trump's lack of leadership. You've been rock solid, Governor. You've listened to the experts, and you've led with science. And you put the needs of the people who are hurting first, helping them get through this crisis. Meanwhile, on the day that we hit 190,000 dead in the United States because of COVID-19, we just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was. And while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
And of course, yesterday in the press briefing room, it was really amazing to watch. I mean, I do not wish ill will for like Kayleigh McEnany, who's the White House press secretary, but my gosh, she has to get up there and defend these lies. I mean, she has to go to the White House podium. And when one of the reporters said, President Trump knew that this thing was worse than the flu, was deadly dangerous, was airborne, all of the things he wasn't telling the American people. But one thing he did tell the American people was that coronavirus was a Democratic hoax. Do you remember that? So she was asked that question yesterday in a White House press briefing, and she didn't have an answer for it. I mean, it's like, so here he was hiding it from the American people, and he was calling it a Democratic hoax when he was on the record talking to reporters and telling just how deadly this thing was. I mean, think about the people that didn't take action in their family and their life because the President of the United States was trying to downplay this virus. I mean, that is political malpractice of the highest order. President Trump didn't talk much about it yesterday when he was in Michigan. He did say, though, that Bob Woodward held those interviews because he knew they were good. He knew that they were good answers to his questions. That's literally what he said. Okay, but here he was in Michigan yesterday.
Oh, let's play Big Ten football, right? They want to shut down auto production, delay the vaccine. They want to destroy your suburbs. Look at what I've done for your suburbs. You know what I've done. You know what I've done. Does anybody want to have somebody from Antifa as a member and as a resident of your suburb? I don't think so too much.
That really gets under my skin. This idea that I'm going to save your, hey, all you white people in the suburbs, I'm going to save your suburbs. We don't want any of those. He even went on to talk about the projects. He said, these cities, they put in low-income housing in your suburbs, and look what it does to your neighborhoods. And I'm here to save you. I'm here to save the American dream, as he calls it. Listen, it's the American dream, and I'm going to save your white suburbs.
Say, darling, who moved in next door? Oh, it's a resident of Antifa. No, thank you. Let's get out of here. Let's get the hell out of here, darling. Let's leave our suburbs. Oh, I wish Trump were president. He wouldn't have allowed that to happen. And that's exactly right. I won't allow it to happen.
It doesn't even justify a response. All right, the fifth thing that I think you need to know about today, the fifth five. Even my 4-year-old can do that better than I just did. The fifth thing that you need to know about today is Russian interference in our election once again. That's right. And this time, about 200 different groups who have election ties have been hacked, infiltrated, have been messed up by Russian interference, according to Microsoft. Russian hackers have targeted 200 groups tied to the U.S. election. Here's what they're saying. They've targeted these groups in recent weeks, including national and state political parties and political consultants working for both Republicans and Democrats, according to Microsoft. China has also engaged in these cyber attacks against high-profile individuals linked to Democratic nominee Joe Biden's campaign, and Iranians have been targeting personal accounts of people associated with President Trump's campaign. But meanwhile, a spokesman for the Russian embassy in Washington denied Thursday's allegations and said, quote, "The time has come to stop the poisoning of the atmosphere of relations with the baseless allegations." Not to work on my Russian accent. Chinese and Iranian officials didn't respond to requests for comment. But if you watched that interview last night with Peter Strzok on Maddow's show, watch that. Watch what the FBI knew about Russian interference and withheld from the American people. Absolute corruption. The fact that the FBI knew And they were conducting an investigation that was massive. And they kept it even from other agents. And they didn't tell the American people. But they did come out and report on Hillary Clinton's email. But they kept the other part of it quiet. Look more into that. Unbelievable. Those are the 5 things I think you missed last night. And we've got a lot more to get to here on the show today. Remember, today is Hidden Word Day. So if you are a subscriber to our newsletter, by the way, if you're not, what are you doing? We've got almost 4,000 people watching right now. You should come over and get our totally free newsletter. Here's how you do it. Let's crash the website again if we can. Yesterday we had 6,000 of you crash the website. Go to morninginvest.com. It's totally free. Go to the website. It looks like this. And you just sign up. You just put your email right in there. It's very simple to do. And then you'll get the email every day, a newsletter. And here's what it looks like on the right side of your screen. We have some great news business stories for you that we write every day. We work really hard on it. And it's the news for real people, not Wall Street people. And then today on the Friday newsletter, we have a hidden word. There's a hidden word in today's newsletter. That's right. And then we will ask you for that hidden word a little bit later in the show. And then we are going to give the first 3 people that get it correct, we're going to give you some mugs. We're going to give you the new Grover mug that just came out. It's the Come On Man Grover mug, thanks to our pal, Mr. Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
You got it, Joe. That's what we do.